G'day, Chris Walker's my name, and I'm a business consultant. And from time to time, I'm asked to talk to people about evolving. And basically, it goes like this: if you hit a challenge in your life, you need to grow. You need to evolve. Every single obstacle is an opportunity to grow. Now, I know that sounds like rhetoric. I know it sounds like blah blah, but it is true. If you're running a business and you come up against opposition, it's time to evolve. Now, evolve doesn't mean work harder. It doesn't mean do more of the same. It doesn't mean continue to do what you're currently doing. It means question, 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 question. Question how you do, what you do, where you do. Question how you're doing what you're doing. Because when you come up against resistance, opposition, what it means is you've fallen asleep and somebody else has caught up and got ahead of you. It's the same in any sport, any event, any situation in the world. If you come up against some opposition, you have to change something you're doing, change part of your process, change part of your product, change part of your marketing, change your approach. And that is called, if it expands your business, it's called evolving. If you change and nothing happens as a result of that change, it's called devolving. Now, change for the sake of change doesn't work. The whole purpose of evolving is to get bigger, is to make your organization a larger one, to make your life a larger one, to make your brand a bigger one. And therefore, evolve means greater in consciousness, less in number. In other words, greater in consciousness means more people served. Less in number means less wasted time. Greater in consciousness, less in number. So let's have a look at how we do this. I created a process called Grow, Real, Give. And it's broken down into three elements. At the start, we realize we're in a challenge, and therefore we need to move to the place of real. Second, we move to a place of give, and third, we move to a place of grow. So let's look at the first step from moving through the first phase of evolving and dealing with a challenge. It's called build. First thing we must do is love the life we've got. Now, that means we need to not be critical. If we get up against a challenge, whether it's in a business or a personal life, we get up against a challenge. We don't like something, don't feel happy with it. It's not profitable, it's not enjoyable, it's not fun. The first thing is to not start thinking, how can I change my location? How can I get out of this job? How can I get out of this industry? How can I get out of? How can I get out of? How can I get out of? Which is the dump, dump, dump philosophy, which means my pleasure or our pleasure or the happiness or our fulfillment is more important than the task at hand. We're in this game, in this business, in this world, in this life, not for the purpose of seeking happiness. We are there to be supported and challenged. And sometimes in those challenge phases, it's time to step up to the plate. It's time to do something differently, but do the same thing, but do it differently. And that's love the life you've got. Don't leave it till you love it. And that, in other words, don't change it until you appreciate what you've got. Because if you start changing things out of a lack of appreciation, you change them for the worst. So to evolve something, the first step always is love where you are. Love what you've got. Don't leave it till you love it. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, whether it's a career. So we move to a place of real. And the way that we move to this place is it's an acronym. It means we embrace reality, which I've just talked about now, and therefore love where we are. Second thing is we rebuild our energy, which means if it's a personal issue and we're going through a challenge in our personal life, we re-engage our health. If it's in a business, we re-engage the energy of the organization. Maybe we retrench a few people. Maybe we rebrand the product. Maybe what we've got to do is generate some energy around this, because when the energy's gone and it's depressed and it's flat and it's almost like sitting in the grandstand watching something from a distance, and nothing's going to change. So we need to energize. We need to get people more excited. We need to get people, if they don't get more excited, we need to get them more threatened that they're not out of their comfort zone. Now, too many companies spend too much time with this ridiculous HR philosophy of making people comfortable. Uncomfortable equals performance. Uncomfortable equals innovation. Uncomfortable equals disruption. And we need to disrupt not only the organization, not only the product, but people's jobs. That doesn't mean we threaten them with extinction or dismissal. What we can say is the bonus at the end of the year is totally conditional on performance, and then people are given benchmark to jump over and like it or lump it. So that's energize. The third thing is attitude. No, attitude sickness is a problem throughout the world. Attitude sickness means my attitude is dependent on my circumstances. Attitude is not dependent on your circumstances. And a culture of an organization, its attitude depends on its leadership. The attitude of an individual depends on their personal self-leadership. Leadership is something that we don't do passively. We must do aggressively. Leadership is proactive. Leadership is not something that happens by just sitting around waiting for the coconut to drop out of the tree. So attitude is part of leadership. If there's a bad attitude around the organization, it's bad self-leadership, it's bad leadership from the organization. And if in a personal life, in a house, in a home, in a family, if there's a bad attitude, it's because it's bad leadership. Don't blame the kids. Don't blame your partner. Blame yourself. Your attitude, your leadership in that home is boring. Boring. And the only way to generate, to get people to engage in where they are, to be present, to be alive with what they've got, is to create an attitude of gratitude. And you know that from many, many teachers, that an attitude of gratitude in a business, an attitude of gratitude in a home, an attitude of gratitude in your heart is what generates the power of the future. So now let's look at the last one, which is life. Life means holistic. Life doesn't mean work. Life doesn't mean play. Life doesn't mean going to church on Sundays. Life is 7 areas of life. And a balanced person is balanced in all 7. If you sacrifice some area of life in the interest of gaining notoriety or gaining success in another area of life, it will be regretted. So if you sacrifice your health in order to make money, you will regret it. If you sacrifice your money in order to gain health, you will regret it. Regret is a terrible thing. The pain of discipline always is less than the pain of regret. So discipline means maintaining balance. And one of the things that we seek to do when we find a person in challenge or a business in challenge is rebalance it. Rebalance the 7 areas of the business, rebalance the 7 areas of a personal life. So that's the first phase. The second phase, which is just before we go to the growth phase, is imagine what you want. You got to kind of like recognize that the greatest asset of a business person is their creative imagination. And there's a 4-step suggestion that you need to dream it, imagine it, believe it, and then create it. And that's what we're going to do here. We create it with an acronym called GIVE: gratitude, inspiration, vision, and enthusiasm. First, gratitude for what is, which we've covered in a sense by getting real. If real hasn't worked, the REAL acronym, if that hasn't worked, you will hear people not being grateful for where they are. They will say, I wish I didn't, I wish he didn't, I wish she didn't, I wish they didn't. A person who's got gratitude is a person who's thankful for the past, every second of it, every moment of it, every nuance, every tiny fraction of challenge, every small thing that went wrong becomes an opportunity for gratitude, because that is the foundation on which evolution is built. That's the foundation on which growth is built. That's the foundation on which a company or an individual or a family thrives. So if there's someone walking around that house or the office or in your head going, I'm not grateful for the past, I'm not thankful for what I've got, there's no use doing a vision quest. There's no use doing inspiration, and there's no use because enthusiasm will be dead. That lack of appreciation for what we've got will suck the lifeblood out of everything. If there's one person in a team that's not grateful for the past, not thankful for what they've got, they will suck the energy out of all the other people. These are the people that need to be coached up or out. There's my metaphor. If there's a person in a team who isn't grateful for the present or the past, they need to be coached up, which means get thankful for the past or the present, or out, meaning find another job. And that's not a harsh, I'm saying it harshly, but that's not a harsh thing to do. It's to encourage somebody by saying, I'll coach you up, but if I can't coach you up, you're better somewhere else, because you can't afford to have a person in a team who's not thankful for the present or the past. That person is, no matter how well they perform, is a bloodsucker, is an energy sucker. The third thing of the give metaphor, the second thing of the give metaphor is inspiration. Inspiration is basically what I've just been talking about. A person who is thankful for the present moment, who is right here, turning up in this moment, is inspired. So I interchange the word turning up means when you walk in the front door of your home, are you there for somebody else? An inspired person is self-satisfied. An inspired person is fulfilled. The automatic response or reaction that we have when we feel fulfilled inside ourselves is to be inspired for others. And we start working to generate enjoyment or engagement for others. So otherwise, it's all self-serving, it's all narcissism, and we have to be careful of narcissism because there's a plague of narcissism. It's worse than the Zika virus. It's worse than the Asian flu. This is one of the worst viruses the world's ever had. It's called narcissism, and it's hidden underneath the blanket. It's hidden under the cloud called yoga, meditation, mindfulness, self-help, emotional intelligence. There's a gillion names for the damn thing, but it's simply narcissism. And there is no more toxic thing a person can get hooked into than narcissism, trying to change themselves. Nothing can be changed about you. Only things about you can be loved. If you're trying to change yourself, you're in the narcissism environment. You've caught the bug, and it's time to step out of that bug. So inspiration comes from self-satisfaction. When you turn up at work satisfied, you turn up at work fulfilled. You do your work because you love it. You do what you love and love what you do. Not because that is going to generate something back in return. You've already fulfilled. You do it because the healthiest state a human being can be in is a wholehearted engagement in what they do. There is no such thing as a half-hearted success story. And this is why inspiration is the second step of the give model of evolving. You've gone through the first step, real, which means capture and grab the ground we're on. We don't want to slip any further down. And we've anchored ourselves in the foundation of gratitude for what we've got. We've now moved to give, which is actually growing from the experience. We get grateful for the experience. We turn up in this moment. We open our heart again, and we get fully invested in what we're doing, no matter what it is. It's not about changing the thing. The thing is not wrong. The thing has nothing wrong with it. The only challenge we have is to do it with all our heart. And that takes willpower or God power. It's interchangeable words. Vision. Every time we hit a challenge or a frustration or any opposition in our business, it's time to revision the business. And that's the key here. Because once we've got to this step, the vision of the business must grow. If the vision of the business isn't growing monthly, something's wrong. Because the challenges come monthly, the opportunities come monthly, the competitors are moving monthly. There's 5 competitors to every one thing. So those 5, one of them is taking the ground. And so therefore the vision of the business must be permanently evolving, growing, getting bigger, more clients, more product, more profitability, more global effect, more influence on society, more social good, more equity in the investment in people of unfortunate circumstances. So vision grows, and the vision has 7 areas, just like balance, and life has 7 areas. We have 7 visions for every organization, and an organization is wise to do vision quest, to do vision every month based on the 7 segments of life and business. And finally, enthusiasm, because this is testimony. Enthusiasm is the testimonial. So we move through the enthusiasm phase, so we can create this vision and then set and forget. We create what I call home ground advantage, and that's the grow metaphor. Now, grow simply means you have home ground advantage. You love where you are, which is the real. You know where you want to go, which is the give, and the last step is to create daily behavior that fills the gap between real and give. You need to fill the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Love where you are, know where you want to go, and then fill the gap, which is called grow. And that's home ground advantage. You know the very things you need to do every single day of your life personally, and you know the things you need to do organizationally every single day to cause the outcome, the vision that you want. These are the 3 phases. Love the life you've got. So we go through each one as we go. We meet a challenge, we grow faster. Therefore, we go from challenge to gratitude or challenge to real faster and faster and faster, which means we spend less time in turmoil, less time in stress, less time in complication, less time in uncertainty, and less time in emotional kerfuffle around the office. We measure the gap between what we've got and what we want. That's really important, and that's important personally and organizationally. And finally, we minimize the total time through this loop by learning. Every situation gives us and the organization we have the opportunity to learn new things. So each time we create a bigger vision, we create a new learning agenda. Because each time we create a bigger vision, we create things we're not good at. We create things we might not be masterful of, and therefore we create a new learning program. Now, we can't spend 12 months doing courses and 3 years doing MBAs and 5 years doing this. We need to learn in a month, and we need book summaries, we need audios, we need to invest ourselves in learning the slice of the dice that we need to have in order to get to the next step. So that creates the whole process. We're trying to minimize the time we spend through the whole loop of facing a challenge, being grateful for the challenge, and being present, back into presence, because a challenge takes us out of presence and it takes us into fear and guilt. And so we come back to gratitude for what we've got. And then we work out where we want to go, which is our vision. And then we have a gap between those two. And finally, we fill the gap. And we're trying to do that in less and less time, half a day, 1 hour, whatever it takes. This is too complicated to go through on the screen, but I'd just like to say that the acronym I love to use for the evolve process is DIVINE. Disciplined, inspired, validated, intentional, natural, and engaged. And you might like to read the small print around all that, but simply it means that a person who's going to operate a visionary life and go through the back on track cycle as fast as possible will be operating in the values of divine. Disciplined person, inspired person, validated by nature, intentional person. They have a clear intent. They'll be living natural, which means visionary, because natural is visionary, and they'll be fully engaged in what they do. This is Chris Walker. Have a great day. Bye for now.